Okay, Kelly, looks good.
Awesome, thank you. I'm sorry, I don't know what happened.
Evening, y'all. Hope you can hear me okay.
I don't have any sound.
5:30, and so hopefully we see some folks logging in here in a sec. Y'all hear me okay?
Can barely hear you, John.
Might have to do better than that. Let me see what I can do. Hopefully that helps a little bit with my audio quality. All right. That's
Yes,
good. Very
it
good.
did.
I hear y'all too, but I saw a fresh link went out just now for, or just a few minutes ago. So we'll make sure we give everyone a chance to get logged in here. All right, y'all. I think we've given everyone a chance to find the proper link and get logged in to join us here. But of course, we'll keep an eye out as other people sign in. Let's pull my agenda up here. We're going to try and do things just a little bit differently today. And so everyone has a copy of the agenda. And for our appointees, I sent an email a couple of weeks ago where we talked about trying to do a little bit of the business of the committee, making sure that we have officers in place, that we've agreed to it with, or agreed to a calendar for the year, and try and do some housekeeping here at the beginning of the year. And so to facilitate all of this, of course, we need a quorum, which I'm pleased to say that I have counted 5 appointees on the phone today. And so I think that we have a quorum and a path forward to select those officers and kind of have our governing body for the year. And of course, encouraging participation from everybody as we do that as well. But in order to do that, of course, first, let me call this meeting of the Transportation Penny Advisory Committee to order. Appreciate everyone joining us tonight. One thing I'm going to do just a little bit differently to make sure we've got our bases covered and we can verify our quorum is to call roll. On Zoom, it gets a little bit tough sometimes to figure out who's actually here. So I want to go through our appointees and just make sure we know who's here. From there, we will adopt this agenda, move through our normal business, and then towards the end, the Tpac appointees, I'll ask to stay on for a moment. We'll go through and conduct this business, and we can release some of the folks who are here to provide reports, unless you'd like to listen along, in which case we're happy to have you. Please stick around and hang out for a little bit with us. So with that, I'm going to go through my list and see who we have available here. Is Richard McKenrick on, please, from Blythewood? I don't see the name popping up, and unless you're a number on here, and it looks like everyone's got their name on here, so I'm going to say no on that. Mr. Black, I appreciate you joining us here today. Thank you. Lee Mashburn on the line, not seeing him. Connor Parker, not seeing him on here. Sean Greenwood from Forest Acres, I appreciate you joining us, sir. And Frank Anderson, I see you're on the line as well. Thank you for joining us.
Present.
Thank you. I am here as well. Brian, excuse me for a moment, Kokla, I don't see on the line today. Eva, thank you for joining us as always. Appreciate you being here. And so with that, those are our 10 appointees, of which 5 are on the line. And so we have a quorum for today's meeting. So I appreciate y'all joining us. With the agenda that went out Friday afternoon, the second one that we received, I seek a motion to accept that agenda with one modification, that in other business, we're also going to conduct the business of the committee today as well. So accepting a motion to that effect, please.
So moved with the addendum.
Thank you. Second.
Eva Prelo, I second.
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Very good. Thank you all very much for that. And bear with me as I sort through Robert's rules. It's not good for me. We'll do our best though. Very good. So with that, we can move into our agenda. Kelly, have we received any public comment? I know that I haven't received any.
No, sir, no public comments.
Wonderful. Thank you. So with that, we can move into the Office of Small Business Opportunity and their report. I do want to mention as we get into these reports, sometimes we get a little bit rushed as we go through our action items and forget to reference our agenda. I think especially for some of our newer members, it would help if as you're working through it, since we don't have those social cues of being in the same room, be able to see the person flip the page to the next one. Let's go ahead and mention where we are in the agenda package as we work through it. And so just to start us off here, the SLBEs and the OSBE starts on page 3 of our agenda packet.
Thank you, Mr. Epton. This is Michelle Rosenthal, Office of Small Business Opportunity. I am the Business Development Coordinator, and on behalf of our manager, Erica Wade, I'm filling in for her. She's unable to be here at this time. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Very well.
I'm not sure how loud this is, and I don't want to speak too loud. So I am on page number 5 on the agenda. I mean, not the agenda, on the report, the OSBO report. I'd like to start there with our SLBE certified firm status. We have 11 pending applications. We have 6 renewing applications. We have a total of 107 certified SLBEs in our directory. On page 6 of the report, close to the bottom, the total certified SLBEs by industry category. We have 8 for architecture and engineering services. We have a total of 39 for construction services. Non-professional services, we have 11. Professional services, we have 39. Wholesale, we have 10 certified SLBEs for a total of 107 SLBEs. On page number 8 of the report, I'd like to highlight a few of the training from the OSBO Business Academy. On the, of course, due to the bad weather that was coming up, we consolidated our how to pitch your workshop. And this, we turned it into a virtual one on January the 13th. We had a total of 68 attendees. And the reason why this workshop is so important is because it ties into our Seeds to Engage Small Businesses grant, which will be released sometime in mid-February or early March. We're not sure what the actual date is yet, but it will be coming out. So one of the requirements of is that they be able to pitch their business. And that will be something that they would have to submit as part of the application. How do I understand, how did I win the bid and understanding contracting services? So we did, on the 15th, we did session 1, part 1. We had a total, that was in person, we had a total of 26 people that responded and attended the event. On January 22nd, this Saturday, just passed, we had to go to virtual, we had to do it a virtual training with it due to the weather. We had a total of 48 participants. Does anyone have any questions for OSBO at this time?
Eva, I see your hand up.
Yes, Ms. Rosenthal, what ways are you promoting the events? What platform are you using?
For which platform are we using for the training?
To promote your trainings? And
So when we do virtual, we're using Zoom.
but how are you promoting the events? Is it through social media, and then what social media?
Okay, so we market the event through our PIO office,
Right.
through our partners that we have, like SCDLT, SBA, City of Columbia, the airport, and then we do it on our website as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Very impressive numbers for the workshop this past weekend. And, with 48 attending the second workshop and only 26 in the first, are we concerned about anyone missing important information from that first workshop?
Well, we had some concern initially. We did it at the convention center. Generally, people sign up just because they need something to do, but then they don't show up. So we're finding that when we do go virtual, sometimes we have the numbers are very much higher.
That was the conclusion I was going to ask about, whether that was the case or not. That is interesting, and I hope is something that y'all are considering as you schedule these in the future. If you can get more participants and do a virtual format, or maybe even a hybrid format, that may be worthwhile.
Yes, we initially had 50 people that sign up for the first workshop. And
have you used the platform Facebook Live?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Have you used Facebook Live when you're conducting your events?
We do we go through our PIO office, and they do it, they stream it live on the YouTube channel.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Good. I'm trying to think if I had any other questions. I love all these workshops that are going on, and this seed grants that are coming out. Certainly a lot to be flowing through y'all over the next several months here, and then through 2022, it sounds like. So I appreciate the update. Does anyone else have anything else for Michelle before we move on to our next agenda item? All right, hearing none, I appreciate the update very much, Ms. Rosenthal.
You're welcome, sir.
All right, moving to item 4 of our agenda, the transportation program update. I see Mr. Maloney has turned his camera on, and looks like he might have something to say to us, huh?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Awesome.
Allison is taking out today, so this afternoon. But we have with me also to speak tonight is Rashid Mwakil. He's one of our project managers, and he'll be taking over on page 12 when we get into construction and beyond. As far as upcoming community council, well, we did have coming up on here the information for you on the Greenway Advisory Committee coming up for February 1st at 11 a.m. Look forward to that. And we have our upcoming council meetings for the Atlas Road widening, CE&I materials testing in February, and the Blythewood Road right-of-way acquisition approval. You get into any questions on that?
Yeah, I've got just one or two here. That Greenway Advisory Committee, is that intergovernmental? Is that a appointed constituency? Who's on that committee and who oversees that?
It's going to be my first visit with that committee. Apparently there was a quarter without it. I don't know if we have anybody on the line that's been to that.
Michael, that meeting will be between the county and the Greenway committees also attend that meeting.
Yeah.
So the different Greenway committees, but each of the Greenway projects will also attend that meeting.
So the neighborhood greenways or the Greenway projects will be combined into one?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And if there's anything we could do to have a seat during that meeting, just to listen, that'd be very much appreciated. Just to kind of know what's going on there, and to, of course, offer our assistance too as they dig into that stuff. And then moving into the committee and council items that you mentioned a moment ago, I know that the CEI materials testing we talked about came through ad hoc last month. The Blythewood Road right-of-way acquisition approval. Is that for the Blythewood Road NIP or the widening? Or I'm sorry, the area improvements or the widening?
That should be the widening.
Okay.
Yeah, which would be, if there's no further questions on that, I dropped down to the pre-construction data. One of the updates we had on here was that Blythewood Road widening right away on all but 3 properties now obtained. And then Michael Green's managing that project and has been able to get through to the town of Winsboro to finalize their water relocation plans for the project.
Okay. Very good. And do we know when that ad hoc meeting is going to be? Have they put that on the calendar?
We'll put something out on that. Okay. I know we have our series, usually it's at the same time, but we have our series of committee meetings on February 22nd.
Okay.
And it
so
usually it's usually ad hoc, and then we have DNS, ANF, county committees on up, and sometimes zoning and other things.
Okay. Great, thank you.
You bet. There's no other updates. A lot of things here, where things are at. We're at last month as far as milestones. Sometimes on large projects, that'll be the case. Garner's Ferry on page 11 and Harmon intersection has moved to advertising. Our project manager, Jeff McNesby, is on the line, and we are constantly looking at what's going to be the future of dirt road paving. While that maybe isn't something as interesting to all committee members, depending on where you live. Certainly with the county, we're trying to get roads into as many roads as we can into a state where they're of similar maintenance, and cutting down on dirt road maintenance. So as far as improvements, we have package M getting to a pre-construction meeting. It's going through the final contracting. And then N will be the next one we advertise. On the list of roads on package M, we have a priority road by citizen request. That's been a longstanding citizen request to get Boasting String Road out there. So it's not first just because it starts with a B, but when we have our pre-construction meeting coming up very shortly with the contractors, and the contract documents did stipulate to get that one started right away. So that is all we have for page 11 up into page 12. Though we have all of the project managers here, should anybody have questions on those design level projects.
Yeah, I'm curious about the city's response on the Gills Creek Greenway. A little surprised by them wanting to go to the full width rather than the 10-foot width. Is that something you can elaborate on at all?
I can, I submitted that request, and full width though is 14 feet. And so what they reminded us of is maybe a year or so back, they had approved narrowing the bridges up to 12 feet. And so to be consistent with that prior decision, they applied that to the entire stretch. So anything that's on, Act Rate or whatever would also be narrowed from 14 to 12 feet. We had requested, yes, to narrow to 10 feet. But that was denied.
So now the pathway will be 12-foot wide, and you anticipate with that some de-scoping will be necessary to get it within budget?
It's the budget is the next question, and you're right. And Allison Steele and I today we're talking about that. So Gills Creek has and I think this committee had recommended we go further south to a neighborhood that's kind of being recovered for a future park that had flooded, and there's still a resident living there on the street. But if we could go to the north end, for instance, of that development and have, say, a trailhead rather than the south end, and not really use that road at this time because of the issue. There's also the issue of what's the plan for that as a, park development someday, and that's not ready at that stage. So it would make sense not to go through an area that's kind of not yet planned, and perhaps save on the length of the scope of the project.
Interesting. And if that is modified, would there be an opportunity for public comment around that? I know that there are a lot of
Yes.
very interested stakeholders in that greenway, so I just want to make sure that we're getting
Yes.
that buy-in, because they are looking for a trail that goes to Timberlane Park that they're going to build one day, and they're surveying for ideas on how that area will be utilized. And I know there's a lot of interest in the project.
Yeah, and that is the neighborhood we were talking about, correct? Timberlane. Yeah. So, and then the north end of the project is in a high traffic area, and there's a private road going, I think I've sat in a lot of meetings talking about car washes being new and having to get my bearings on that. But it would be a challenging area, being a private drive to commercial retail, to actually put up parking lot or a trailhead right there. But I understand, I often think of bikes and perhaps, if some element of it is, more pedestrian related to get to that commercial district where it's maybe not as feasible. For instance, there might have to be a stairway there while allowing bikes to mount it. It would probably not be ideal, like to say it's, for biking in that particular location at the north end of what's now the scope. But we'll look at that, and yes, it will definitely need public input.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions on, I guess, page 10, 11, the agenda, where we go through and discuss some of those pre-construction items? A lot of good information in there. Any other questions?
Oh, this is Frank Anderson. I had a question on page 12 regarding the North Main and Monticello Road intersection project. Can we get some more information regarding that?
Yes. I'm preparing a draft memo back to the city where we're looking at the cost sharing of that. The Penny program has put in the maximum amount into the project. We just want to make sure the city's on board with any requirements they'd have in our agreement. So we do have a change order. We did look it over. it's, again, pulling out all the underlying concrete. And that's going to have to be staged, obviously, with the traffic and have a traffic plan for that. But that's also being finalized.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Frank. And anything else, Mr. Maloney, you want to update us on with construction, or Rashid wanted to jump in to provide some updates?
Yes. There's always a lot going on in construction, and we do have Rashid Mawakil, who's our project manager, and he's kind of checked in with everybody to kind of take us off from construction on down.
All right, good evening, everyone. All right, I will start with the construction updates. First, we have the Clemson Road Phase 1 sidewalk project. That project is substantially completed, and we have conducted the final walkthrough with SCDOT. The only thing keeping us from closing that project out is the contractor has to achieve at least 70% permanent grassing, and they have not achieved that yet. So once they achieve that, we'll be able to completely close that project out. The next project we have is the Dirt Road Package K. Package K includes Robert James Road, Rocky Road, Barkley Road, and South Drive. Robert James, Rocky Road, and South Drive have been completed. The contractor is in the process of roughly grading Barkley Road, and it would take them approximately another month, weather dependent, to complete that road. So once they complete that, we'll be able to go ahead and move to the closeout process on that project. For Dirt Road Package L, that dirt road includes Dogwood, Shore Lane, Lake Dogwood Circle South, and Wider Road. The pre-construction meeting for this contract was held on December 9th, 2021. The construction will start approximately early February, but the contractor has installed the construction signs along the road already, and they're due to complete this project in August 2022. But in a Vista Phase 2, this project is approximately 75% complete and is due to be completed estimated June 2022. For North Main Street, Michael already talked about that, but as he said, we're in the process of discussing the additional funds needed with the city. So once we get that worked out, we'll be able to move forward and complete North Main Street. Old Gunners Ferry, Tip 2, this one is also completed. We've conducted the final walkthrough and the final pay app has been submitted. So once finance processes payment and the contractor receive that final payment, we'll be able to completely close this project out as well. For resurfacing Package R, it is approximately 60% complete. And for Three Rivers Greenway Phase 1 Bravo, we're approximately 95% complete. So Penny, any questions or additional comments from Mr. Maloney?
Yes, Eva Prelo, I have a question.
Mhm.
As it relates to the resurfacing package R,
Mhm.
and then you provide a list of roads on page 14,
Mhm.
and they're numbered. Is that the priority of how you're going about paving the roads, or is it just, I noticed that it's alphabetical in order?
Yes, ma'am. It is alphabetical. It's a total of 52 roads, but we do not dictate to the contractor how to proceed along that list. We leave that up to them. We just give them the start date and the end date, but we don't tell them how to complete the project.
So do you know the criteria they use to select the roads?
Well, the county selects the roads.
I mean, not select, but as far as paving, the priority of paving the roads.
No, like I said, we don't dictate that. We allow them that flexibility to decide how they're going to get it done.
Yeah, I think within the contract, once they define the package, that's bid as a whole package. And within that package, they can pick out any of the roads they want to go work on. However,
Absolutely.
Long ago, before our time, I think probably anyone on this call's time with the penny, they went through and prioritized and listed those dirt road packages and consolidated them into chunks a while back. So maybe, Eva, I'm not sure if that answers your question, but I am curious, are we anticipating the formation of any additional packages, or have all those packages been defined at this point so that we know what's going to be installed, and then it's just when those packages are going to be pulled off the shelf to be put into execution? Is that correct, y'all?
Yes, you're pretty much correct. So all the roads have been prioritized from A to Z. And we're basically repairing these roads, repairing the worst ones first, going down the list, and putting them in packages as we go.
And then those packages are alphabetical from greatest need to, or I'm sorry, yeah, greatest need to least need. So once we get to package Z, if there is such a thing, that would have been the ones that were in the best shape at the time of the referendum.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. Eva, does that answer your question?
That does, yes. Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions on construction, how it's going, where we're going to see next steps, all that? I will comment and say that the Green Street Bridge looks great. That fencing coming down makes it feel like steps are being made. I guess, are we anticipating asphalt going down as soon as they open the plant in maybe March or so?
Oh, which one?
Green Street, are we going to install asphalt, I guess, as soon as the asphalt plant opens back up?
Yes.
You're ready.
I don't have that schedule in front of me, but I'll verify that with Allison. But more likely, yes, that's correct.
Yeah, and when we say May, June completion, we're kind of looking at the shade structures out there, but the road will be ready before that.
And will y'all be able to make the road available to traffic before that shade structure is installed, or is that going to be contingent for final?
Yeah, well, the bridge itself, we'll have to get back to you on that. We haven't really talked about that as far as, I do know when that's going up, we have our railroad permits going on, and that may be a shutdown period, or maybe we just don't open it until there, but we'll get back to you on that. I know there's other spots, other blocks that may be able to open.
But that was going to be my next question. My follow-up is all the way to Hugh G, and then there in front of the brewery over to, was that Pulaski over there maybe, I think?
Yeah, that first block down, that should be paved by that time, March, April, and then if we have a delay, I think, or not a delay, but we talk about May, June, that would be the bridge. So we'll talk about sequential opening if that's possible, and I'll get back to the committee on that.
Awesome, great, good work happening on the way around. Any other questions or comments on the construction update? All right, seeing none, do y'all want to discuss the upcoming or open solicitations that are included in your set?
Okay, yes. So the only project we have in solicitation right now is the Guns Ferry Harmon intersection project. So once that bidding process is complete, that project will be awarded to the lowest, most responsible bidder.
Great. Very good. Let's see a variety of sidewalks and widenings coming up soon. So great news. Keep them flowing.
All right.
Very good. Scrolling through here and looking at numbers and all that. Okay. Anything else from the transportation program, either from the program or from our appointees or other interested parties? All right, Rashid, Mike, I appreciate it very much. Thank y'all for your help.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, let's move on to the next item here in our agenda, the comment programs update. I'm down on page 15 of our agenda packet, where I think we've got, I'm sorry, that's still transportation program, down on page 16 of our packet. Mr. Harris, thank you for joining us.
Yes, how's it going? First off, Happy New Year to everyone. There's one simplified way, I guess you can describe all the planning related work that's been completed over the past month or two, and that's just getting organized. As for now, we are focused on, we're focusing much of our efforts on on-time performance and cleaning up the pre-planning process for the Lucius and River Super Stop. The notice to proceed should be issued by February 1st. And we are circling back around to some of those stakeholders in that community just to, refreshing to freshen up their minds about the project, making sure they're well aware kind of what's coming down the pipeline. But we're really excited about that as a whole. As far as ridership, I feel it's only necessary to kind of give you more of a synopsis of the last 3 months of where we are. And as for now, our corridor routes are pretty steady. And that's our 3-digit routes. And that's North Main Corridor, Fair Road, Divine, Two Notch, Forest Drive, Broad River. They're all doing pretty well. But as far as our local routes, all of them are pretty steady as well. We just had one concern with Route 88. It didn't perform as well. It was down to 503 passengers. It's one of the lowest that we've seen thus far. But as a whole, we're seeing this as an ongoing trend around December, November months across all transit agencies, from New York, and looking at a larger agency like MTA, even, down to the Comet on a smaller scale. So something to be expected, nothing to worry about, but we are trying to monitor that process. And it is one of the routes that we are taking into consideration through the Reimagine the Comet process. But
excuse me, I'm sorry for the interruption, Harris. Where's Route 88?
That's our crosstown route. So that route more so travels through the center core of our service area. So it's not in one specific area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No problem. Thank you. But yeah, so we did, I guess DART service is another thing. We were averaging around 5,100 passengers per month, and they had a slight decrease around 4,800 passengers in November. But again, it was to be expected going back to that trend as you get closer to that holiday season. U of SC, they were down in transit ridership as well, considering that it was the holiday season and classes were modified for finals and things of that nature. We did talk about in our last meeting about the Lake Murray Dam route extension. I did speak with Mr. Walter Durst, and we just went back over to some of those plans. We are going to take that into consideration as we roll out Reimagine the Comet, but we're trying to prioritize, again, on-time performance and all these other projects. So if we do pursue it, it'll be something that will happen maybe on down the line towards the end of this year or at the top half of next year. But if we can, obviously scale it to go into effect a little sooner, then we definitely do so. But outside of that, that pretty much concludes my report. But of course, we're just trying our best to wrap our heads around all of these plans, Reimagine the Comet, Lucius Road, Super Stop, on-time performance, where we probably modified much of our schedules as well. Make sure that we give the public something new and fresh to look at and more reliable service. But obviously integration of all of those projects at one time is going to be something that we got to make sure we maximize and perfect. So that's something that we're working through. And as of right now, I believe we have 8 sites as far as passenger amenities that are in design. So we're excited about that as well. But we have a new shipment that will be coming in February. I'm not sure of the exact date, but we do have some bus shelters, 12-foot shelters, 16-foot shelters, so on and so forth. They'll be coming in, and we'll try to get those installed as soon as possible.
Very good. Any questions from the group for Mr. Harris?
Sure. Good afternoon, Mr. Harris. This is Frank Anderson. I believe since our last meeting, Mr. Derek Huggins was installed as the interim director. So where do we stand on finding a permanent director for the Comet system?
Absolutely. As of right now, the board is actively working through that. And Derek Huggins is right now, he's in place. It hasn't been much motion from what I understand up to this point. That's the short way of answering that question. But I do know it's something that's been on the board's mind. They've been discussing that in private, but Derek has just been filling in the gaps, and he's been doing a good job at that thus far.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Frank. Anyone else have any questions for Eric? Eric, I am curious. I'm always going to ask you about these electric and hydrogen buses. So any progress on getting those on the road?
Not quite on the road yet, but it will take some time. I love the fact that you always ask about them, though. We've had a series of meetings, and the last meeting back in December, I have some notes here, so I'm kind of looking to the side. But they're in the process of creating a project schedule, the vehicle and infrastructure overview, and the demonstration overview, and some of those project goals to trying to get some of those buses. From what I understand, it looks like we may be moving not necessarily towards Proterra, but towards new flyers. But we're still working through some of those kinks right now.
Okay, very good. Well, I hope you get a chance to go ride a new flyer bus if you haven't already and see how they are.
Yeah, I have another question. I think, mentioned is Proterra. I believe they manufactures the buses in Seneca, right? Proterra?
Yeah, up in Greenville, I think, off of Malden Road, maybe somewhere in that area.
Yeah, I think in that area. So, I'm not familiar with the other brand that you mentioned, but it would be good to try to help the South Carolina business to grow. But so what's the reluctance of getting these vehicles on the road? We've been discussing different vehicle options for several years now.
We just received the funding and we won a grant. So now it's a process of just trying to make sure that we, get the buses that we need in order to move forward. We did visit Proterra back, it's probably last year, probably early in the year. But it was a good visit. It's just a matter of price, and let's make sure that we maximize the funds that we receive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Then I imagine there's probably some infrastructure that y'all need on site there at Lucius as well to be able to hook these things up and cycle them through one.
And that's literally the process that we're going through. So yeah, absolutely right.
Absolutely. Well, there's plenty of juice running through there at that big substation next door. So y'all should be able to pull it off the line somewhere. Very good. And if you don't mind, do you mind giving us a little bit more detail on where we are with Reimagine the Comet? We're all looking forward to that report. Can't wait to dig into it and digest. And then we were promised some public meetings and that sort of thing as well. So love to hear a little more about where we're at.
Absolutely. So it's anytime between now and next month, February, where we receive the recommendation from our consultants that's working on the project, Jared Walker and Associates. But we did go through the series of meetings, met with Richland County, City of Columbia, so on and so forth. We are still trying to circle back around with Lexington County as well, just make sure that, all of our ducks are in a row, and also with UofSC to see if they, have any recommendations they'd like to make, because they want to do a service redesign as well. So we're trying to capture all of that stuff all at one time. But as of now, we do expect that any time in between now and February, we should have a recommendation given to us, and then we'll move into a series of public meetings where we'll reach back out to stakeholders, just like everyone on this call, and go back out to the public as well and see if they have any additional feedback.
Very good. Well, hopefully by the time we meet to discuss this again, we'll have a little bit more on that and maybe have something to look after. So
I'll anticipate it. Yeah.
Awesome. Anyone else have anything else for Mr. Harris before we excuse him and stop berating him here? All right. Very good. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate the update. With that, we will move into our other business, and I kind of created a bit of a segue for myself there with our next scheduled meeting being February 28th. I believe that is consistent with our previous scheduling, where we've been about the fourth week or fourth Monday of the month. It also gets us out past the President's Day holiday, so we don't have to worry about that interference. Barring any issue with that date, we'll go ahead and lock that in and plan on seeing everybody then. Any comment or concern with that February 28th date? Okay, great. Hearing none. With that, I'd like to move into our other business. As I mentioned previously, we do have 5 appointees on the line tonight of our 10 appointed members. And so we are going to talk a little bit about our officers for the committee and that sort of thing. So at this point, the meeting is still in order. We are still conducting business of the Transportation Penny. I definitely need to have IT on the line to facilitate the call for us to make sure that we're able to stay online. And this is a public meeting, so everyone's welcome to stick around. But if you're here to present information to us and feel that you have fulfilled that requirement and don't need to sit through our committee business, you're welcome to excuse yourself at this point. All right. Very good. I appreciate everybody who was online with us, and I look forward to talking to y'all again next month. Thank you. Very good. So appointees, appreciate y'all being on the line tonight, and hope that my email wasn't too much to digest. I tend to kind of throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks, so to speak. And so I know that that can be a little overwhelming sometimes. That's a critique I've gotten before. So, but do want to try and cover at the very least just our officers for the year and our schedule for the year, just to make sure that we are in compliance with the bylaws, so that what comes out of our committee can have teeth and that we can be shown to be faithfully executing per the bylaws. So I would imagine that Robert's rules would dictate that now would be the time that we open up the floor to nominations. I think that we probably need to start with the chair. We do have a vice chair position and a secretarial position available as well. Want to try to work through these, see if we can fill out this, our executive committee here, or our officers, just so that we can have some folks to kind of lead this committee over the next year as we continue to fill it out. I'd love to have a full, 15-person committee so that we have everyone here, and the more hands make the work lighter and all that. And so, just to go through our bylaws here, chair, vice chair, and secretary elected for one term, 1 year terms at the first meeting of the commission each calendar year. The chair is a voting member of the committee. They are responsible for calling the meetings to order, presiding, acting as spokesperson for the committee, signing documents for the committee, similar to that template that I sent out with the email last week. Represent the committee before council to address any concerns or questions that the council may have. Vice chair would fill in instead of the chair in those situations. And then also perform other duties as determined by the committee and county council. So you don't get out of doing extra stuff just because it's not on this list. And then our vice chair obviously is taking those roles of the chair when they're not available, and then also taking on additional responsibilities as appointed or requested. And then the secretary works with the county staff to make sure that we have adequate public notice, that we have public record of our meetings. And so that'll be the agendas. And for this meeting, for the first time in like a year and a half, we're actually going to have minutes to go along with it. And so be on the lookout for that in February. We're going to have to accept those before we can move on. That'd be another agenda item that we could add too. Work with the county staff on preparing those minutes, and then whatever else may come up. And so with that, I think that maybe our next best thing to do here would be, let's start at chair, try and work our way through. Let's fill out these positions and give ourselves a little bit of responsibility for this next year. So I'd love to open the floor both to nominations, but also volunteers who would like to take on that role. So, what do y'all think?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, that.
Look
Yeah.
out.
I'll go up for nomination or whatever for chair.
Okay. We have an interested party. Any other interested parties in chair?
I nominate
Frank
John.
Anderson. I'm sorry, Ms. Prelo, go ahead.
Oh, my apologies. Eva Prelo nominate John Epton for chair.
All right.
Frank Anderson, I second that nomination.
Okay, very good. Mr. Greenwood, any input on chair?
No, since this is my first meeting, I'm, just trying to get the lay of the land.
I understand, but I appreciate you joining us and helping us work through the business here. With that, I would like to put it to a vote. Those in favor, let's see. Can we use our raise hand emoji here for Mr. Black to serve as chair this year? All hands. Okay, and Mr. Epting to serve as chair this year. All hands.
John, where do we find the raised hand?
It's down there under the reactions with the smiley face, and then there's a raised hand there. Throw it up.
Okay, I see that one. Hold on. Let me see if I can locate it.
Okay. All right. Okay, very good. We'll take a clap. So, y'all, yeah, I will happily take on the chair's role this year, especially knowing how much help that I have to bolster me. I appreciate the nomination and will accept the chairmanship for another year. That said, in the interest of not being the chair in 2023, I'd like to move on to nominations for vice chair, and I'd like to nominate John Black as vice chair. I see interest and I see a pipeline so that we can continue to have some fresh blood as well.
Second by Frank Anderson.
Very good. Any other nominations for vice chair? Very good. Then I'd like to put hands up for John Black and make sure that we have a majority of our quorum who is happy to have John Black as our vice chair for this next year. Recording hands. I see a majority of the quorum. Very good. Congratulations, Mr. Black.
I thought you said you didn't want to be chair anymore. That's the only reason why I said, well, I would be chair.
I am looking forward to taking another role on the committee. And again, I think that with y'all able to bolster my my work here on the committee, that I can maybe focus on asking Mr. Maloney harder questions. I've been taking a little bit easy on him here lately, so I want to make sure we can dig in a little bit. Very good. And with that, that leaves our secretary position remaining to be filled. I'm glad Mr. Maloney found that funny rather than offensive. That's good to know. But I want to fill out the secretary position. This is something that I'll certainly be happy to help out with, especially as we kind of start into building our what our formatting is going to look like for our minutes and agendas, and certainly be helping with organizing for public notice and all that sort of stuff. So I don't want to task anybody with too much, but any nominations or volunteers for that secretary officer position for this year?
Miss Eva. Look at her, Miss Eva.
Is that an outright rejection or a reluctant acceptance of a nomination there?
This is reluctance of acceptance, but I'll accept.
I appreciate that. Any other
nomination?
All right, we got a second. Let's put it to a vote then. Sean, I see a hand up already. It's found the reaction button, using it well. Very good, y'all. Well, with that, then I feel that we have a full slate of officers appointed, which is great, y'all. This has never happened while I've been on the committee before, so I appreciate y'all working through this and helping us out. The final item that I wanted to discuss is our 2022 calendar. And for the staff that's still on, Mr. Maloney, if you have any input here, please let us know. We'd like that input as well. But as I reviewed our bylaws, I noticed that we are technically slated to meet the third Monday of the month rather than the fourth. The major advantage I see to meeting the third Monday is that this generally will get us out in front of ad hoc. So when they're taking action, often we don't have 6 weeks of notice for what's going to be on ad hoc's agenda, while the transportation program, of course, tries to give us ample warning for what's going to be out there. If we want to be able to provide feedback preemptively before ad hoc has their meetings, I think that meeting the third week will give us greater ability to do that. It'll get us out in front of the ad hoc committee and, of course, the full council as well. And so that's my first part of my proposal. In the email I sent last week, I had a calendar. I tried to go through and circle those committee dates when they're planning to have those, though I'm not sure that those are 100% accurate for ad hoc, as I think Mike was mentioning before. Those dates don't always line up with ad hoc in the committee meetings, but generally they would line up. Does that sound right, Mike?
Generally, I will let you know this. For that, just as an example, February 22nd is the committee meetings.
Right. We
have to have our briefing documents in on February 2nd. So, not to say there's not input, or something that could happen, but as far as an agenda item on ad hoc, we're putting them in like a day short of 3 weeks in advance.
I gotcha.
Okay.
So if we're meeting on, let's say March on the 21st and ad hoc is on the 22nd, your meeting materials go in on March the 9th or March 2nd rather. And so we need to issue guidance for the March ad hoc at the February meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, maybe the third, if the third week is good, the third or fourth week is fine. So whatever works best for the committee, but for your committee, but, maybe even the third week's fine because it gives more time to react and prepare for that deadline that's fairly early in the month. So whatever you decide, I think I'm just pointing out probably doesn't change anything with getting things in advance.
I see. But would it perhaps mean that we would have less available to us that we would be able to comment on? Is that extra week, does that provide staff more time to provide more of that documentation for the ad hoc or for council?
If you might be better in the fourth week reacting to a meeting to prepare for the next month, because that's where we'd be at, in the fourth week.
Okay.
In the third week, it's kind of like the same week as the meeting, and there's no time to put anything in for the meeting that's going to be right after your meeting. So like I say, it doesn't make a lot of difference. It's probably after that meeting you might have some ideas for the next one. So
Gotcha. So I think that the advantages I had seen may be moot and not actually applicable here. That said, meeting the third week doesn't come without its benefits at times, maybe helping us conduct the business and avoid some holidays and that sort of thing, because we do have to swerve to miss holidays every now and then, whether it's the third week or the fourth week. And so I'd love to open it up to comment. Does anyone have any strong feelings one way or the other on the third week versus the fourth week, or the calendar that was sent out last week?
I think unless to comply with the bylaws, it would have to be on the 3rd, unless a proposal was submitted to amend the bylaws.
Right, which would have to be approved by council. And so it may be easier to comply with the bylaws and provide ourselves that I guess, official blessing here if we were to conduct our business on the third week whenever possible. Okay, I see some advantage in that for sure. It's Black, thank you. Well, very good. How about this then? I'd love to accept a motion to accept our calendar as sent out last week or 2 weeks ago, our 2022 calendar, and to utilize that this year.
Motion to approve.
Eva Prelo, I move that we accept the calendar that was submitted last week by Chair John Epton.
Very good.
Second.
Second. All in favor, hands up. All right, I'm tracking a majority, y'all. So we will incorporate and utilize this 22 calendar. I will forward it out to the group so that we can go ahead and start keeping up with it. And I'll make sure Kelly gets a copy as well so she can update the department and get our invites out at the right times. But that sounds great. So I appreciate y'all bearing with us through that business there. On this final other business item, our Tpac membership update, as I mentioned, we do have 10 appointees. Also, I would note, though, that in our bylaws, we have a condition where after they have missed 2 consecutive meetings, they can be dismissed by a vote, or a quorum vote of the committee. I will inform our other members that that is the case by email, along with our adoption of the calendar and everything else that we discussed today. I guess we'll notify him about officers and all that as well. We'll include a note in there in bold, highlighted. I'll try and make it as visible as possible to say that if you miss 2 consecutive meetings, then that we can take action to remove you from the committee. We have some folks who have been I guess, poorly attending for years now, whose roles in the committee have diminished because of it. There's probably some folks who deserve a little bit more room to make up their attendance and that sort of thing. And so we can discuss those on an individual basis. But I will at least get that correspondence out to those folks, try to notify them and let them know that we would like them to participate if they're going to be appointed to the committee. Otherwise, we'd like them to move on so that we can have other folks appointed instead. So with that, y'all, I have nothing else to cover. Is there anything else that y'all would like to discuss before we break for the evening and the month?
Thank you all for the opportunity to serve as secretary.
Thank
Same
y'all.
here as vice chair.
Thank y'all both very much. And thank you everybody for joining us on the call today. So with that, I'd love to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Bye.
Y'all, thank you all very much. Have a great evening and we'll talk next month.
All right,
Thanks,
goodbye.
y'all.
Thank you, everybody.